What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to continue our authentication implementation we started in the last video. We have Laravel Passport generating tokens for us on the back end, and now we have to store them on the front end in order to make authenticated requests. We'll also take a look at using navigation guards to prevent our users from visiting routes only meant for authenticated users. Okay, so I went ahead and styled the login and register forms. Nothing pretty, just enough so we can make use of it. And there's no logic in here, it's purely just HTML and CSS. Okay, so let's get started on logging in a user. So here I am in my login component. Let's make sure we can grab the username and the password. So we'll put a V model. So username and one for the password. And then down here in our script, I am going to name it, and it's have our data fields here. And username is empty string, and same with password. Now let's make a new section for methods here. Let's make a new one called the login. And up here for the form, let's do submit.prevent equals login. Okay, back to our method. So here we can make an Ajax request to our login endpoint. Now, if you're not using Vuex, you can call Axios from within here. But since I am using Vuex, I'm going to dispatch a new action, and I'm going to call it retrieve. You can call it login, but I'm going to call it retrieve token. And I'm going to pass in the username, this.username, and the password. Okay, so into our Vuex store, let's make a new action called retrieve tokens. So right here, retrieve token, yep, context, and we're going to take in the credentials. And here is where we'll make an Ajax request. So I'm just going to copy one of the other Ajax requests. So this one. And I'm going to paste it in here. Now I'm going to post to the login endpoint. We're going to get the username is credentials.username. And the password is credentials.password. And let's just console log the response. See if we're getting anything. See if we're getting the token. Okay, so into our app, open DevTools. Let me make this a bit bigger. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. I think I have a user called john@example.com. And let's give it an incorrect password, see what happens. Okay, that's correct for one unauthorized. But if we give it the right password, which is secret, let's see if we get a response. And we do. Cool. Let's see if the token's in here. So it should be in data. And there it is right there, access token. So let's go ahead and make a new piece of data in here called token. And we'll make it null initially. And let's set it here. So let's do const token is response.data. I think it was called access token. And now here, I don't need this. Oops. Don't need that. Here is where we're going to store our token. Now, there's a lot of debate on where and how to store the token. We have pretty much two options. We can store it in either local storage or as a cookie. So I'll leave some links down below on discussions on the best place to store it. The most common way is to put it in local storage, but just be aware that if you store it in local storage, if your site is susceptible to cross-site scripting, then your token can easily be stolen by a malicious user. Now, on the other hand, if you're using cookies, you're protected against cross-site scripting attacks, but you're vulnerable to CSRF attacks. But yes, like I said, I'm just going to use local storage. So local storage is pretty simple to use. There's an object called local storage, and to set an item, you just call it the set item method, and you give it a name. We're going to call it access token, and then we pass in what we want to set. And now I also want to update our variable here, so I'm going to do context commit, and I'm going to call a retrieve token, mutation, and we're going to pass in the token. So let's make one retrieve token. We'll take in the token, actually not state, and the token, and we'll just set the token in our state. Okay, so now if we log in, let's do john@example.com secret, and that worked. If we checked our Vue DevTools, go to Vuex, there's our token being stored. Awesome. However, if we refresh the page, we're going to lose this. So if I refresh, you'll see that the token is now null. So we have to make sure when we initialize that token, so up here, we're also grabbing it from the local storage. So we can do something like this. Local storage dot get item access token. And we can just do or null. Now, if it exists, and it does, there's our token right there. Okay, next I would like to redirect to this route after we log in successfully. So let's log in again. We also have to define some state for when we're actually logged in. Like if the token exists, that means we're logged in, but we'll do that later. Let's work on redirecting first. So secret. As you can see, nothing happens here in the UI, so it worked, but I want it to redirect to here. So how do we do that? So back to our code. We can do it in here where we have a successful response, but to me it makes more sense to put it in the login component because the login component is responsible for that piece of logic. So here is where we're calling it, but this is an asynchronous operation. So how do we let the parent know that it's done? So we can actually call .then the same way we call it as a promise using Axios. And then we can redirect to the appropriate route. So this router push, we can give it the route name with a route path like this. So it'd be to do. But like I said in the router video, I like to use names. So route names. So it's name to do. So let's save that. But this is not going to work yet. We have to go back here and wrap this whole thing in a promise. So let me show you what I mean. We have to wrap this in a new promise that either resolves or rejects based on if it's successful or if it's an error. So resolve, reject, and let me just do that. And down here, and let me do that. Sorry, that should be like that. So to let the parent know if it's either resolved or rejected, we just have to call resolve and pass in whatever we want to pass in. And down here, we can call reject and pass in whatever we need to. So now this should work, and now it should redirect to this route upon a successful login. So let's try again. John@example.com, password, and that didn't work. Oh, wrong password, sorry, it's secret. There you go, it redirected, cool. Okay, now let's make a getter or a computed property that holds the state of whether or not we're logged in. And the only criteria for checking is if the token is null or not. So let me show you what I mean. Back to our store. Let's make a new getter, which is like a computed property. And let's name it logged in. Takes in the state. And all it does is return state.token is not equal to null. Okay, so now that we have that, let's make it so that these two menu items change based on if we're logged in or not. So if we're logged in, we want it to show log out, but if we're not logged in, we want it to show login and register. Okay, so back to our code. If we go to our master view, which is where the menu is, let's make a new computed property, which just refers to that one we just made in the Vue X store. So let's call it logged in as well. And all it does is return this store getters logged in. Okay, and now we can check these two. So we want to show login and register if we're not logged in. So if not logged in, same with this one. But if we are logged in, we want a log out. So let's change this to log out. And let's make a component for logout. See if this works. It's not going to work because we don't have this. Okay, it does. But let's make a component for logout. We can do it in here, but since we already have a component for login and register, let's go ahead and make one for logout. So make a new one, logout.view. Okay, the template is going to be empty. And the script is going to contain the logic for logging out. Let's work on that in a second. Let's go to our routes file first. And let's add logout here. Logout and logout. And let's add that here. Oh, that didn't work. Logout, logout. Okay. So that's good, and there's no errors. Cool. Okay, now let's work on actually logging out. So what needs to happen when we log out? We have to destroy this token on both here in the browser and also on the server. So if you remember in the last video, we worked on an endpoint for deleting the tokens on the server. So let's go ahead and make everything work here. So back to our logout component. I'm going to call another action. So this store dispatch. Let's call it, oops, destroy token. Sorry, there should be in a created lifecycle hook. So this will be called whenever we click on it here. Again, we can put it here in the master and just call it like a click handler here. But this works as well, and it's nicely separated into its own component. So let's call destroy token. Let's go ahead and make that. So into our actions, let's call a new one. Let's make a new one called destroy token context. And we only want to do it when we're logged in, so we can refer to that logged in getter that we made. So logged in. And we want to do something similar here, where we return a new promise so the parent can call .then and respond accordingly after a successful Ajax request. So let's paste that in. And we're going to post to logout. And there's no data. And when we get rid of this, we're going to remove item, access token, we don't need this, context commit destroy token, we don't need this, and for the error case, we also want to do the same thing. This just handles the case if someone tried to enter their own local storage key, so it just removes it if it's invalid. And now, similar to when we log in, just grab this, and here in logout, just paste that in, and let's push to home. All right, see if that works. So no errors. We're logged in. Let's see if this removes it. Actually, I didn't do the mutation yet. Yeah, let's do the mutation. So back to our store. I have to make a destroy token here. Destroy token state. And let's just set it to null. Okay, see if this works. Okay, so we are logged in, and there's our token. And let's log out. Actually, before I do that, let's take a look at the database. And you can see there are a few entries for 3. Let's see if it deletes them all after we log out, and if it deletes this. Also, before I do that, one more thing. If you want to check your local storage, just go to Application and go to Local Storage, and you can see it right there. Access token. So let's go back into Vue DevTools and see if this works. Okay, so you can see it's null. You can see it's gone from here, and see if it's gone from the database. Okay, that didn't work. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so it's unauthenticated because we did not pass through the header of the token. So we'll worry about that later. For now, the token is destroyed on the client side, but not the server side, and that's okay for now. You can see that this works too. So once we're not logged in, we get these two menu items over here. Actually, you know what? Let's just make that work, and let's pass through the header. As you can see, it didn't redirect accordingly after we logged out. That's because it didn't do it successfully. So let's go ahead and make everything work. So over here, we have to pass in the correct header. So we have to tell Axios what header we want. And to do that, we just do this. So just pass in the authorization header, and the value is bearer with a space, and then we're just passing in our token. So now let's see if that works. So we have to log in again. John@example.com, secret. Okay. And there's our token. And now if you log out, token's gone. But let's see if this is gone now. So let's see if all the threes are gone. And they are. Cool. Okay, now let's work on navigation guards. So navigation guards work similarly to middleware in Laravel. So what we want to do is we want to prevent the user from going to this route if we're not logged in. And conversely, when we're logged in, we don't want them to be able to go to login or register. Let's go back to our guards, our routes. And for any route we want to protect, let's add a new meta field to it. So like I said, we want to protect these ones. So login is one. So we can put a new meta tag on it. And let's call it requires that you're a visitor. So it requires visitor, and set it to true. And I'm going to do the same for register. And for this one, we'll do the same thing, but we'll rename it to requires auth. Now if you go over to our main.js file, this is where you would specify the navigation guards. So if you go to documentation, if you go to route meta fields, this is how you would do that. So if the route requires auth, you just checked if you're not logged in, and then you redirect accordingly. So let's grab this and back to our code. Right here, we can use this. So instead of this, we have to use our store here. So store.getters.logged in, and it's not a method. So if we're not logged in and we clicked on app, where do we want it to redirect to? We want it to redirect to login. So we can use path, but like I said, I like using names. So just change it to name, take out the slash. We don't need this query. And now that should work. Let's give it a try. So how about login? Okay, if we try to access this, then it redirects to login. Now for the other case, right here, we can just do an else if for the other case. So actually, let me just grab this and paste it in here. But this should be an else if, and this should take care of the other case. So it requires visitor. And now if we are logged in, let's redirect to the to-do route. Okay, let's see if that works. So let's log in again. Okay, now we can't grab it from the menu, but we can just type it in here. And this should just redirect back to this page. And it does, cool. And let's try register. Cool. I'm not sure why it's refreshing. Okay, I guess that's the way it works. Yeah, okay. Okay, now let's quickly work on registering users and then we'll call it a day. So register is here and it's pretty much the same as logging in. So let's just go to our register component. Let's make models for these. So name, and then what's this one? Email, and then password. Let's make a submit handler. Register. Close that. And let's make it data. Name. Email. Password. And then methods. Register. Let's do the same thing as we're doing in login. So let's just grab this, paste it in, except we're registering, and name is this. Name, email, and then password. And after it's successful, we want to redirect to the login page. Okay, now into our store. Let's make a new one called register context, and we're passing in some data here. And similar to everything else, let's just grab this. Actually, and we're posting to register, and we don't need any of this. Actually, we do need the resolve, and we need to pass in some data. Name is data.name. Email is data.email. And password is data.password. And let's get rid of this too. And see if that works. Okay, no errors, good. Let's make a new one. And set the password to password. Submit. And that looks like it worked. There's no success message. Maybe I will add that in a later video, but let's check our database. For users, and there I am right there. And let's actually try logging in. And there we go, we're successfully logged in. Cool. Okay, so you probably noticed that these to-dos are not yet set up for specific users. We'll take a look at this in the next video where we modify our Laravel API to accommodate for that. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks, bye!